You guys feel spicy? Because I do.
No matter how loud, how kind, respectful, how cute, men will still fucking hate you.
Women are talking about bringing that 4B movement right here to the United States.
Operation 4B.
Refuse to date men, get married, have sex with them, or children.
All I have to say is good luck getting laid. Me and my girlies are participating in the 4B movement.
No more kitty cat for moderate men. Fucking all the things that the patriarchy wants us to be. Clearly, they don't give a shit about us.
No attention to men. Delete block. Do not respond to them.
Government cares that they're not having kids because children are the future labor force.
I'm gonna start barking and getting fucking crazy.
You think I'm crazy? All the women before me who are crazy.
It is the best thing I've ever done for my mental health. We're not crazy. We have to do this together.
The women who are doing the 4B movement help other women who are doing the 4B movement.
All right, man, I'm not be responding to you. I am going to be promoting the 4B movement.
Do not acknowledge them. Do not look at them. Do not laugh at their jokes.
Why exactly are you going to keep becoming subservient to a nation that doesn't literally care about you?
Wake women up.
While I've kind of heard about this whole 4B thing before, honestly, I've never really looked into it. But since Trump's become president again, it really seems to be taking over social media right now, so I thought I'd quickly explore what this whole thing is about. So what is the 4B movement? How and where did it start? And is it really the sort of thing that's going to work in a place like America or even the UK? Let's get into the mess.
Hello, US sister who disappointed because of the election and who want to get rid of all of the men who want to boycott the men. Welcome! Today I'm gonna briefly explain about 4B, 5B, and 6B, and also nowadays comes out 7Bs.
Since I'm only just figuring out what this movement's about, all this is a little too much. And hearing her list off all the Bs like that sounded like she was listing off all the forms of Super Saiyan or some shit. But let's continue.
First of all, for the 4B, it is not that hard at all. It's just not having a date with the man, not having a sex with the man, not having a baby with the man, and not having a marriage with the man. That's all you have to do. And nowadays, South Korean women expanded this 4B as a way that we could continuously do this movement. So, which means by the 6B comes out, for 6B, there are 2 more Bs with the 4 Bs, and there's 2 more. So those 2 would be B4B. So the women who are doing the 4B movement help other women who are doing the 4B movement.
Sounds exactly like a pyramid scheme. It's just that no one's getting laid.
Women always have a pay gap, have discriminated by the society, have a glass ceiling. All of those have a great impact for women to have a hardship on their economic status. So that makes us to sometimes just compromise and have a marriage with a man. So for women who are doing the 4B movement should help each other so that we could gain the status and we could help other women doing the mentor. And that's all about the B4B. B helps B.
I know she only mentioned it briefly, but I don't know why we're still going on about the gender pay gap. While I don't know exactly how things are being done over in South Korea, in the West, this whole thing doesn't really hold up when you're comparing 2 people who are doing the same job at the same level. The Office for National Statistics in the UK broke down gender pay gap measures like this. The gender pay gap measures the difference between average hourly earnings, excluding overtime, of men and women as a proportion of men's average hourly earnings, excluding overtime. It is a measure across all jobs in the UK, not of the difference in pay between men and women for doing the same job. Already, this is a load of nonsense, and rather pointless, because we all know that largely speaking, men and women often work very different kinds of jobs, and while it might change in the future, the types of jobs women often go for pay less than the jobs that guys tend to work. But let me stop here before we lose track of what we're actually here for.
And next one would be the not spending the money to the pink tax company, pink tax products. So for the pink tax products, the representative one would be the makeups, and also some of the companies who are highly misogynistic. And there are a lot of companies. For example, Nikes. They was an issue about the sports and like they discriminated the women who have a baby. Like if you find, like dig on it, there are so many company that are highly misogynistic, and also they have some pink tax on it. It's more based on doing like not using money to the pink tax products, but also not spending money to the misogynistic company, and try to use the money to the company that have a woman in the CEO and all of that. And next, I will introduce the 5B. 5B is like really recent one, is not giving an emotional labor to the man, not giving an emotional labor, especially to the men who are highly toxic, who are sexist, and all of that.
This point is rather silly to me because you shouldn't be giving your time, energy, and body to someone you see as toxic anyway. The sad fact is, though, a lot of guys who are deemed as toxic or whatever are very attractive to women, especially young women. As I said, I'm only really looking this up for the first time, but as of right now, there's just shy of 27 million women in South Korea. And do you know how many women are supposedly actively participating in the 4B movement there? According to Wikipedia, even though some places have said up to 50,000 women are involved, the actual number is probably between 500 and 4,000. In any case, I imagine it'll be much less in the USA, and if anything, this whole topic will be dead in a few weeks.
So for my example, in my videos, if there are some comments about my appearance, or if there are like comments that's highly unrelated to my video, like my contents, I just delete it right away, just not answering to the trolls, and not using your energy and using your emotional like labor to them. So this is really important because women are always taught to be kind to the men, to use their energy to the men, also to explain everything really like specifically about the question to the men, and they just question us just because they just want us to get exhausted. And that really happens for the women movement, and a lot of women just gave up because they are tired of answering all of those questions, or all those like bad comments. So it's just ignoring the toxic man in your life and just ghosting them in your life.
I'm pretty confident that most guys don't even know this is going on. And whether there's a 4B movement happening or not, you shouldn't be giving toxic guys the time of day anyway.
And the next one would be 7Bs, which is just adding all of 3 ones. The one I explained for the 6Bs, the 2 of the B4B, helping the other Bs who are doing the 4B movement or all of the B movement, and not spending money to the pink tax products or the misogynistic companies, and also not answering to the trolls, not spending your emotional labor to the man, especially for the toxic man. So adding all these 3 to the 4, and that becomes the 7Bs. And actually, there are some women who are actually doing this 4B, 6B, 5B, 7Bs in South Korea. That is really happening. And there are a lot of accounts that especially write like 4B on their accounts, like profile, so that they could show that other women who are doing, like, showing off that I am actually doing the 4B movement.
If I was a woman and saw on someone's social media profile that they were doing the 4B movement, it wouldn't mean shit to me, because the truth is, you have no idea as to what they're really doing when nobody is looking. It kind of reminds me of being back in school, and you had people who would pretend they weren't studying for their exams so they could fit in with the cool kids, but come test day, they passed with flying colors. In any case, aside from the whole pink tax thing, which I don't really know much about, what this lady's describing here are things women, and let's be honest, people in general should be doing anyway. But let's see what people are saying about the 4B movement right now.
Men complaining that it's so hard to date if they're even remotely right-wing leaning. Oh my god, do I have some bad news for you. So in the past year or two, there's actually been a lot of articles written about how young men, men usually under the age of 30, are finding it increasingly difficult to be in the dating pool. If they say that they voted for Trump in the past, if they were voting for him this year, if they were Republican in general.
I don't think it really matters what a guy's political affiliation is. Men across the board are having a tough time when it comes to finding someone to settle down with. I won't deny that someone's political views make a difference, but this is just one of many things that have flipped the dating world on its head.
You have no idea how much worse it's about to get. And I hope the male loneliness epidemic fucking skyrockets. Because I can't speak for all women, but I can speak with a lot of them that I have been in conversations with, especially leading up to this election and now after. The desire is gone.
I don't think you'd want to live in a place where male loneliness became a real epidemic, but this is the sort of thing you expect to hear from someone who lives in total comfort. If, on a large scale, men started to suffer from increased loneliness, you'll start to see more violence, just like we did with Elliot Rodger and a lot of shooters since then. Sure, you can sit there and talk about how you're going to try and teach these men not to commit such acts, but you're living in a Disney fairy tale. If you push someone to the edge, making them feel isolated, cut off from the world, uncared for, and whatever else, you can't expect them to be rational. I don't know why we like to forget that humans are just animals, and while we may have suppressed our primitive instincts, they're still there, and they do bare their fangs from time to time.
Fucking gone. Literally in the past 24 hours, I have known so many women who have automatically deleted dating apps off their phone. Just stopped responding to the guys that they were chatting with. Canceled dates. Because quite literally, it's not worth it.
And more than likely, this is only happening in her little bubble. And even then, they'll be back on those dating apps in a few weeks.
On top of men not being able to provide pretty much anything that we couldn't provide for ourselves, it is now about to become increasingly unsafe to be in a relationship with a man at all. And once again, for a lot of women, the 4B movement is going into effect, if it wasn't already.
Just what kind of men are you dating? If you're dating trashy dudes, you shouldn't need a whole movement just so you can make better decisions. But who knows? She's probably saying all this on camera with her boyfriend sitting in the next room.
I just looked up what the 4B movement is.
Hey, we're in the same boat.
And I literally fell to the ground crying.
I didn't start crying though.
I had finally pulled myself together today because we actually are in a dangerous situation. Aside from the news this morning about who won the election, we actually have a fire that started and it is very close to where I live, and people are now losing their homes very close to where I live. So I was sent home early today from work, but that's not what this is about. I literally looked up what the 4B movement was. If you don't know what the 4B movement is, Korean women had decided to stop having babies until they received equal rights, and their country was screwed because they weren't having enough kids. Their population was going down too quickly. I cannot believe that that was something that had to be done, and that now we are at our rock bottom and this is where we are at. I feel like I'm in a different world today. This is so heartbreaking. I'm beyond words and feelings today. Beyond.
People are acting like Trump hasn't been president before, and you all survived his presidency then, so what's so different this time? Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comments.
I'm a little bit concerned about the amount of women saying that as a consequence, we're going to start using condoms and practicing safe sex, maybe having our tubes tied or having our significant other get a vasectomy. Like, oh no, don't threaten us with responsibility and impulse control. I feel like that just makes it even more evident that you are relying on abortions as a form of birth control.
She's not wrong. While I think there are many instances in which abortion should be done, for the most part, people get them because they were careless and didn't make use of the other forms of contraception available. I mean, 95% of abortions are just because people want them, about 3.5% due to health concerns or an abnormality in the baby, and 0.4% because of rape and incest. Now, I actually do think women should be able to get an abortion for any reason they want, But let's not act like the main reason for women getting abortions is because they weren't being safe to begin with.
I know I'm from the UK, but I have one thing to say about the US election. All right, so I know that Kamala Harris hasn't conceded yet, but it's looking very, very likely that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. Fine. Given the demographic I belong to, you can already imagine my opinions on that. But I do want to discuss Americans and British people saying that we should start the 4B movement here. Just in case you don't know what that is, the 4B movement is South Korean women saying that they're not going to have sex with men, they're not going to date men, they're not going to have kids with men, they're not going to get married to men. Well, I'm scratching my head because I'm thinking, after this election result, why do US women think that that's going to happen for them? Especially given the voting statistics that Latino and white women, like the way they voted in this, like, sorry, what? Now, I've seen a couple articles about the UK's declining birth rate and things like that. And then that started a conversation about how having a child as a working woman in the UK is difficult, especially if you're a single woman due to like our salaries, the price of childcare, all of that stuff. I just feel like it's unlikely for women in the US and the UK to do it because we don't show solidarity in the smaller scale things to be able to carry off a movement like this.
Exactly. And let's be honest. While people are talking about this a lot on social media, the reality is, even in South Korea, there aren't a lot of women doing it to begin with.
Someone will post online, my baby dad's a deadbeat, he's at DLT Malta, what the fuck? People are like, oh my God, what's his number? What's his snap? Oh my God, where is he? Like, da, da, da. And it's not, some people are joking, but a lot of people aren't joking. Now, it's not to say I'm well versed on the climate of like South Korean women and I know what they're like. But from what I've seen online with the US and the UK girls, like, there's a lot of birdery going on. People will knowingly fuck with abusers, deadbeats, I don't know if I can say that word, but rapists, all of that stuff. And you're trying to tell me that you won't date, marry, or have kids, or have sex with them for this movement, but you're voting in elections where abortion and all these things are going to be criminalized for what? Like, let's just get real. No way. Just as I made this video, I've just seen that Kamala Harris has conceded. This is actually really sad. But I feel like the same way white women online have said they're going to vote this way, and then the stats that we're seeing on our TV, or at least online, whatever, aren't backing it. I can imagine if it comes to us trying to do this movement, women would outwardly be like, yeah, I'm not doing that, da 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 da. And in public, you're still clarting, you're still having kids, you're still getting married, you're still doing this and that. So yeah.
She is bang on the money. A lot of people talk shit online, but you shouldn't expect that the things they're posting on their Instagram or Twitter are things they're actually implementing in their real life. And just like I've been saying throughout this video, a lot of women were more than happy to give it up to guys they knew were bad for them. So why did it take for Trump becoming president again for them to make a change? I seriously doubt if a woman has a man in her life who means the world to her, she's gonna cut him off for some short-term movement.
All right, so let's talk about the 4B movement, right? It took for Kamala Harris to lose the presidential race for y'all to act right, to keep y'all coochies to yourself. It's wild. I'm gonna keep my vajayjay to myself from now on. I'm not gonna be sleeping with any men until marriage. If he's not my husband, he can't get any cooter cat. If he doesn't treat me like a human, I won't sleep with him. Wow, you're just now having standards? You was letting men that didn't treat you right hit? It took for Kamala Harris to lose the presidential race for you to finally have some standards about yourself. Maybe Trump winning after all wasn't such a bad idea. If it's not a ring on my finger, I'm not gonna give a man a child. Well, boo-hoo. Good job. That's what you're supposed to do. America was in this badass kid stage and now it's over. It's like you told people that that was wrong and they did the wrong for 4 years straight. And now that Trump is in office, now they want to act right. It's like Trump was your parent or something. It just seems like it was for the greater good.
It seems to me that a lot of people are going to be having this sort of reaction, and it's mostly because it doesn't feel like something that's being born out of a real need. It's just today's hot topic, and tomorrow, it'll all be forgotten about.
I don't know how to say this respectfully, so I only want to speak to men. There are no women in the room. Fellas, tap in with me. A lot of you are starting to see, oh, we're going back to the 4B movement. We're done with men. Cool. Bro, me and you right now, we could care less. We back sipping on our tea, about to lock in for this winter arc. You feel me? But I want you to think back, bro. You remember like right before the summer started, they talked about this 4B movement that they had adapted from overseas because women, I think in one of the careers, said they did this, so now they gonna start it. But then aren't those same women pregnant right now? Bro, wasn't you just scrolling on the gram and maybe even Facebook and you just saw a gender reveal for someone that said that they was gonna lock in and be for the 4B movement? You remember that shorty? That shorty from high school? Because before the summertime started, she was 4B for life, but yet she about to give birth to an Aquarius or a Pisces baby. Fellas, I need some of you to really lock in and pay attention what's going on. You cannot just sleep with anybody. Let me say it again. Please lock in and pay attention. You cannot just sleep with anybody. Could you imagine getting one of these women pregnant that act this way? Once again, I'm only talking to the guys.
You know what this kind of reminds me of? It reminds me of that girl who swears off all men and talks about how she doesn't want to get with another guy because all guys are trash. But the next time you see her, she's in the club about to go home with some dude she just met so he can blow her back out. Talk is cheap. It really is. But yeah, that's just about all I have to say about this whole 4B thing. But guys, let me know what you think in the comments.